In the spring of 2016, a group of eminent scholars visited Edinburgh. Their ideas are not commonly heard in Scotland, yet they were developed here during the Scots Enlightenment. The scholars discussed ideas with a group of young people who inherit an entitlement to their country's past wealth and its prospects for the future. The young panel are actors. The opinions expressed are not their own, but taken from contemporary Scotland's conversation. They express them as common sentiments heard in public debate in order to create a response. The scholars should be seen as objectivists, seeking to describe the logical outcomes from political and economic decisions. The interests and incentives of those who make those decisions are to the fore, in line with modern economic thinking. Their perspective is long-term, not a commentary on day-to-day political and economic policy.
Fairness and equality is the touchstone for everything about us as a nation.
Equality is relevant to us as a nation only applies to equality before the law, equality of social class, equality as individuals, equality of rights and of liberty. Equality of outcome has nothing to do with the rise of Western civilization and the prospect and the wealth that we have today. Indeed, equality of outcome is unbelievably unfair. We are all different. We all have different skills. It would be unbelievably immoral and evil to force me and Michelangelo to be equal in art. He has immense talent. He is brilliant, and we all benefit from that fact. You don't want to see my drawings. You want to see Michelangelo's drawings. Well, wealth creation is the same thing. There are people who are incredibly talented at creating wealth, at creating values that all of us enjoy, that all of us benefit from, and it would be wrong to pull them down just to make me feel better.
The problem is not inequality. The problem is poverty. That's what we should be concerned with. And there's a tremendous amount of confusion about this because people think that by railing against inequality, they're solving the problem of poverty, and they're not. You solve the problem of poverty by having a dynamic, growing economy.
There are so many people in desperate need. They're vulnerable. How can that possibly be seen in a good way?
It can't be seen in a good way. Poverty is fundamentally at variance with the dignity of the human person, and we should fight it. However, I think we need some perspective here. By historical standards, even the poor in Scotland are wealthy. So we have to make sure not to disregard the facts here. And that's not to say that we can't do better. We can and should do better. There is no limit on economic growth as long as human innovation remains unshackled.
Hear, hear.
And the best way to unleash human innovation is to unleash liberalism. Unleash the idea of individual freedom, leave individuals free to exchange both physical goods and ideas with each other that will create the wealth that is necessary to take people from poverty to riches.
We want jobs, decent jobs. Where are they? A quarter of Europe's kids are out of work.
You want a job that is absolutely unique to you. Maybe you're thinking, gosh, my passions don't seem very businesslike. Maybe they're long, hot baths, kittens, and comic books. Well, even in those areas, there are an infinite number of unsatisfied customer needs. Long, hot baths. People like to read and listen to music and talk on the phone when they're in the tub, don't they? How about a floating iPad case that's waterproof? Kittens lose a lot of their cuddliness, don't they, when they grow up to be cats?
Yeah.
What if there were a diet or genetic therapy that would keep a kitten its entire life?
Wow.
There'd be a lot of demand for that, wouldn't there?
Absolutely.
Comic books. The hugely successful trade show Comic-Con in San Diego every year, each year attracts 150,000 people. People dress up as their favorite comic book characters. Hugely profitable. So no matter what your passions are, there will be unsatisfied customer needs in those areas. And you can find a way to create your own job. Sometimes I hear it said that all of the customer needs out there have already been satisfied.
No, I don't think
Nonsense.
so.
Every
Not even
time
close.
a new product or service comes to market, new customer needs are created. The products themselves can be improved. The companies providing those products and services have needs, marketing, sales, manufacturing, you name it. And new products and services often create needs around them. For example, electric vehicles require the needs for charging stations. So there's never been a better time than today to create your own job.
But we're stuck on the edge of Europe, so we can't compete, can we?
There's an economic argument called comparative advantage, which is about the only non-obvious proposition in economics. And it is that the pattern of trade is not determined by absolute advantage, by how productive you are, how close to the center and the cheapest location you are, but by your comparative advantage. My colleague here could type his own letters because he's a fast, I've seen him, he's a fast typist.
You can't read them though, Deirdre, is the problem.
True. But that would be a bad use of his time. So his comparative advantage is being the CEO of his companies. And then both his secretary and him are made better off. So being stuck on the, Japan is far away from everything. It imports iron ore and coal from Australia, coal from China, makes steel, which it sends to Australia and China. So it's not, these absolute advantages are not the key.
No one is going to invest in Scotland.
Robbie, I really hope you don't believe that about Scotland, or you don't believe that about yourselves. Nations are made up of people, individuals like the four of you. I have a son who's about your age, who's 20, and I look at him and I think about nothing but the future and opportunity and the next thing.
Yeah.
Create opportunity or allow opportunity to exist, and capital will rush to you. I grew up in the middle of flyover country, in the middle of nowhere in the U.S., unincorporated Indiana, on a farm. It was inconceivable that you would be able to find capital or build businesses, but through labor, through my ability to connect with the marketplace or to find and create jobs, capital flows towards you.
Yeah.
You've made a dent in the table and things run towards you. And I can't imagine that Scotland doesn't have that ability.